It's an interesting situation. Let me know in the comment section, what would you do? It is such a hard decision. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you having a great Thursday. Hope all of you having a great week. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And man, oh man, there's a ton of stuff going on in the college football world. A ton of stuff we got to get to. By the way, I'm having to put off the Georgia and Tennessee preview video until tomorrow. My apologies, but this topic is just so important. We got to talk about it tonight. Be on the lookout for the Georgia-Tennessee preview video tomorrow. I promise it will be uploaded. But for now, we got what I'm going to label as bigger fish to fry, and I'm talking about this crazy situation between LSU and Michigan. Well, it's not even just LSU. They're not really involved in it. It's more so of Michigan going after an LSU recruit. So for those of you who don't know, in one of the up-and-coming classes, there's a young man that goes by the name of Bryce Underwood. He's a 5-star recruit. Everybody wants him. He is widely regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, and he's looking like he's going to be special in the future. Well, for a good while now, he has been committed to the LSU Tigers, but that hasn't stopped Michigan from pursuing him. And it doesn't stop many other teams from pursuing him. They still recruit the guy, but Michigan's been going hard at him. They really want him. And despite him being totally 100% locked in with LSU, Michigan's making a late push. And I guess you could go as far as just saying they've put all their chips on the table because they have just offered Bryce Underwood, let me emphasize this, a high school kid, a young man at that, hasn't played a down of football at the collegiate level. They're offering him $10.5 million. 10 million doubloons is absolutely crazy. I don't care what anybody says. Even if your perspective on money is somewhat skewed, I think you understand how big of a deal this is. For me, myself, and I'm sure other people out there can relate to this, I grew up in an extremely small town located in Alabama. Nobody in my area had nice cars. Nobody had extremely big houses. Okay, let me give you more context. I couldn't even tell the difference from a Mercedes-Benz, a BMW, and an Audi till I was about 21, 22 years old. The reason for that is as simple as this. We didn't even have those cars in my area growing up. Nobody had them. Small town, more times than not, equates to most people not having a lot of money. I say that to say this. If you grew up in a similar environment, you know this. The thought of someone even getting $1 million was out of this world. It just didn't seem like reality. Whereas if maybe you grew up in a big and prominent city, $10 million, it's more rational to think about because you've seen other people obtain that amount of wealth. You've seen Lamborghinis, Ferraris, stuff like that. You're a product of your environment. When you're around a lot of money, if you see it, you can believe it, you can achieve it. Whereas if you don't see it, you don't even think it's possible, if that makes sense. For most people growing up, you don't even think obtaining $10.5 million is even a legit possibility unless you get to the NFL. And the fact Bryce Underwood is getting offered this amount of money, it's ludicrous. As soon as all that news came out, he posted this response on Instagram, and it's just a picture of, I don't know if that's him in the jersey, but it's an LSU picture with his, I think, maybe that is him. He's holding up a chain. But the point is, it's just an LSU picture. In other terms, he's just saying, yep, I'm not going anywhere. Tiger Vibes writes in the comments, imagine being so undesirable that you have to offer an in-state kid $10 million because he doesn't want to play for your cheating, non-quarterback developing blank. Pathetic. Oh, this is a good comment. Imagine being an offensive coordinator coaching an 18-year-old who makes more than you do. And yeah, that's really a different conversation for a different day. It's a tough predicament because you got to think about it. These D1 football players, heck, even guys that even make it to the next level, high school football players, their egos are through the roof. And think about this. For the past however long, 100 years, D1 athletes already had massive egos. But now you're giving these D1 athletes with massive egos millions of dollars? It's going to double it. That is the case for most athletes. Now, I'm not trying to sit up here and tell you egos are a bad thing because I remember me, myself, when I was playing sports, I had one. I feel like you got to have one. If you are a man and you say you don't have an ego, it's either one or two things. Number one, you're lying, or number two, you're a loser. You got to have some sort of ego, some sort of pride about yourself. Now, here's the thing with that. You got to contain it and not let it get the best of you, and there's a difference. Guys like Johnny Manziel, that's where it got out of control. He had an ego, couldn't control it, and yeah, you know the Johnny Manziel story. We're floating down a rabbit hole here, my apologies. I think you get my point. Kids already have big enough ego without the money. Getting back on track here with Mr. Bryce Underwood, I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. I do not know a lot about this guy. I don't know his backstory. I don't know his family situation, but from what I've heard, the little I've heard about him, he seems like he's got his head screwed on correctly. It seems like he's not just in it for the money, and he's wanting to go to the school that fits him best. Or maybe not fits him best, I think a better way to say it is the school that's going to prepare him for the NFL draft. And when I say he's not in it for the money, let me clarify. I'm talking about the short-term money because all these guys are trying to get paid. And I've said this since day one. it's better to play the long-term game than the short-term game. We'll use Michigan as an example. If you go to Michigan, they don't develop you correctly, you go 5-7 every single season, and you turn into like a 4th, 5th round draft pick, well, you cost yourself $20 million. Yeah, you got the $10 million up front, but you could have had more in the long run if you would have been more patient and just thought a little smarter. On the flip side, if you go to LSU, they only give you a couple million. By the way, I don't know what LSU's offering him, but let's just say they give you $1 or $2 million, or maybe they don't give you anything. You go to LSU, they develop you, they turn you into a top 3 pick. Well, dude, that's like $35 million. So do you want $10 million up front, or do you want to be a little more patient and make $35 million? And by the way, if you're a top 10 draft pick, you're going to get a bunch of sponsors. So really, it's going to be like $45-50 million. It comes down to this. What does Bryce Underwood want, and what does his family want? And look, I'm going to tell you right now, it's really easy for you. And yeah, that's right. I'm talking about you, buddy. Eating cheesy puffs on the couch to sit up here and say, you couldn't pay me $10.5 million to go to Michigan. I'm going to LSU, and I'll stick it out there a couple years, be the number 1 overall pick, and make $40 million. Yeah, I'm turning down that $10.5 million. Real easy for you to say, and even me to say, eating cheesy puffs on the couch. 99.9% of you watching this video will never even have the opportunity to turn down $10.5 million. And I'm going to tell you right now, at least for my financial situation, I can't speak for y'all, that would be something I'd have to think about until the very last second, whatever the deadline is. $10.5 million doubloons? That is life-changing money. They say the number you need to retire and never worry about money again is $5 million. Well, that's double that. So essentially, you could retire yourself, not worry about money, give your mom, dad, whoever a couple million, and you're set for life. And that's worst case scenario. That's if you never make another penny. That's if you turn into an all-time bust and never get drafted or anything. I tell you right now, I wouldn't fault anyone for turning down $10.5 million. I don't care if you was going to, who's the worst team in college football right now? Isn't it Kennesaw State? I don't care if it was Kennesaw State. I'm applauding you. Money ain't everything in this life, but it's very important. The people that say otherwise, they're just lying to themselves. For example, if ESPN came calling today and said, yo, Matt, we'll give you $10.5 million if you sign with us and never post a YouTube video again, I love you guys, but I'd hope you understand my decision. I'm going to ESPN for $10.5 million. And y'all can call me a sellout all you want, but at the end of the day, would you not do the same thing? $10.5 million, I need that. Now, would the content suffer because ESPN would, I'd have to follow their guidelines and stuff? Probably, and the content wouldn't be as authentic, but who cares? I got $10.5 million. Take a look at this comment. What happened to the game I love? Dude, that game ended years ago, so it's over. That's a whole different game. This is now NFL JV or NFL 2.0, whatever you want to call it. This ain't the old college football anymore. You got to get used to the modern times, buddy. And I know you're kind of joking saying that, but seriously, the old ways of college football, it's over. If you offer a 17-year-old $10.5 million and he doesn't commit on the spot, it's time to reconsider your approach. And I agree. I didn't even think about that. Honestly, it's kind of sad, too, that Michigan feels like they got to do this and they're this desperate. But honestly, they got to. Have you seen the recruiting class? Not very good. And by the way, this is courteous to Dave Portnoy. If y'all haven't been keeping up with that, he's been saying for months he's going to pay whatever it takes to get a top-notch quarterback to Michigan. And you could say he wasn't lying because he's doing it. I didn't know he was going to pay $10.5 million, but yeah, I guess he is. I know he's got the cheddar for it. Bro, somebody said my son wouldn't even have a choice. I'd drive him to Michigan myself. Yeah, that's the sad thing. I know this is meant to be as a joke, but a lot of parents, they live through their kids, especially if they failed at whatever sport they were pursuing as a kid. Real sad thing. I hope that's not the situation with Bryce Underwood, and it doesn't appear to seem that way. If he doesn't need the money, the obvious choice is, you stay at LSU. A great example of this is Arch Manning. There are a lot of schools offering Arch Manning more than Texas did, but why did he go to Texas? That was the best fit for him, and guess what? Like I talked about earlier, he was around money his entire life. His family has money. He doesn't need it. And those big numbers, they don't entice him. I got a feeling maybe that's going on here. I would love to know more about his parents' backstory. I probably should have looked that up before the video, but yeah, it is what it is. But outside of that, I just think his parents and most people should look at this from the bigger picture. LSU's better at Michigan, especially for a quarterback, because you're going to throw the ball way more at LSU than you are at Michigan. And the more you throw the ball, the more it's going to give you an opportunity to prove yourself to these scouts. And look what happened with Jaden Daniels. He won the Heisman Trophy. I know some Michigan fans are going to have a rebuttal of, oh, Matt, well, what about J.J. McCarthy? And yeah, J.J. McCarthy was really good at Michigan, but even him in his senior year, or his last year there, he was throwing the ball maybe at – how many throws per game did he have? 20? Whereas Jaden Daniels, He was throwing the ball and running the ball every single play himself. It's an interesting situation. Let me know in the comment section, what would you do? It is such a hard decision. I have no idea if this is true or not, but I've also seen rumors flying around that LSU is going to match whatever Michigan offers them. That'd be the best of both worlds. Even if LSU just gives them, let's say, $5 or $6 million, I'd still go to LSU. Here's the last thing I'm going to say before I end up the video. The one thing a lot of fans don't take into account is you can't have a season and career-ending injury just like that and cost yourself millions of dollars. And I think most people don't even take that into the thought process, and they think it only happens occasionally and, oh, well, that would never happen to me. I would never tear my ACL or have something crazy like that happen. And the reason I say that is because I thought that way and I tore both of my ACL, so I guess that's why I just understand it a little bit more. You can have a major setback as an athlete at any given point in time, and if you can secure the money before the setback, that's a win. Obviously, you don't want that to happen, but it can happen. It's a possibility. I put it to you like this. Taking the $10.5 million would kind of be like getting insurance for your car or for your house. Most people's houses aren't ever going to get wiped out by a hurricane or a tornado, but there's still a chance of it happening, so you got insurance. Same thing here with the 10.5. You hope you don't have a career-ending injury, but it could happen, so you at least got to consider the 10.5. I don't know. There's many more things to this. I'm going to end it off here. Let me know your thoughts down below. But